So let's just say you've never brewed a wine, mead, beer, or cider in your life. You have absolutely none of the specialized gear, but you want to try it, see if it's for you before you invest. Well, if you have some grape juice, some bread yeast, a teaspoon measure, some plain old white sugar, a glass, and a scale, I'm going to teach you how to do it. Okay, this is a super simple method, and you might have even seen it in other places because, well, it's just not something I invented. I mean, it's making wine. It's been done for thousands and thousands of years. Not really all that hard. What you do want to do, though, is make sure that you get the right ingredients, okay? I am actually using Fleischmann's active dry yeast. I found this works best. There is Red Star bread yeast out there, too. Inconsistent results. Some people tell me it works great. Other people have said not at all. So make sure you do that. Also, your grape juice. Make sure it doesn't have any, what I like to say is ites or ates. No preservatives, okay? There's no sorbate, there's no sulfite in this. Ours actually contains filtered water, grape juice concentrate, ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. That's to retain the color. Don't let that scare you. It doesn't really alter the effectiveness of the juice. We got this at Aldi, but Welch's grape juice, I've heard a lot of people have great results with, and that's pretty common. You can get it almost anywhere. Costco, as a matter of fact, has a great one that we really like. What I want to do, though, is get a little bit of this volume out of here because I do have to add some sugar, and I do have to add the yeast.
And that's what you need the glass for.
Yep. And what do you do with that? You drink it. But another word about this. It's very important when you're making wine, beer, mead, or cider to sanitize everything. Not to be confused with sterilize, because that's a whole different thing. Sanitizing just means to kill off any of the microbes that could harm the fermentation. Now, inside this bottle, this is a sterile environment. This is already sanitized. So you don't have to worry about it as long as you don't put in anything that's not sanitized, okay? So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to pour off a little bit. I always eyeball this. More than that. About that much. Right there, that's perfect. I love this stuff. Derek is not as big of a fan. Now, to that, actually, this is where the scale comes in. I'm going to put this on my scale. Now, add the sugar. If you have a funnel, use a funnel. If you don't have a funnel handy, pour very carefully. That's what I'm going to do. How much sugar are we putting in this? I'm going to be putting in a ½ pound of sugar, or 8 ounces, or 224 grams. Or just a little bit over a cup. Maybe like an 1/8 over a cup. Not that much. What's the sugar do? The sugar raises the density of sugar content in this must, which that's what this is going to be, giving the yeast more to chew on, giving you a higher alcohol content. Because, I mean, if you're making wine, do you want it to be 6% or do you want it to be more like 12%? Exactly. Both can be good, though. Don't get me wrong. But for this exercise, we are going to add sugar. And I literally just pour it right in. Now what I want to do is get this mixed up. And that extra headroom is a good thing because that's air and oxygen contact. And in the very beginning, the yeast like that. They need it to be able to multiply. So I'm going to shake the bejesus out of it. You want to make sure that there's no solid sugar left in here. You want to shake it up really good. It's going to foam up like heck on you like that. And that's a good sign. That means you have gotten some oxygen into that must. I'm going to open it very carefully. Sometimes it spits at you. Next, I'm going to put in my yeast. I'm just using, like I said, Fleischmann's active dry yeast. You can use other bread yeast. You can use wine yeast if you want to, if you happen to have it. This jar is getting really empty, so I'm just going to put it in very carefully. Put this back in the fridge. You do store your yeast in the fridge, right? If you don't, make sure you do. It makes it last a lot longer. And now I'm going to put the lid back on tightly and shake this up again. Now a word about improving this method. There's a lot of ways to improve it. We are not taking any hydrometer readings today. We are not putting an airlock on this. We aren't even putting a balloon on this because I don't think balloons are a good idea. What we are going to do is the loose cap trick. And a lot of people say they swear by this. I'm not a huge fan. I will be totally honest. This is a little bit of a scary thing for me and I don't really like it. But what I want to do is put that lid on to just finger tight and give this a squeeze. I can feel resistance, which means no air can get in or out. That's not what you want. I'll loosen it just a quarter of a turn. Right there, I got air going in and out because here's what's going to happen. As this ferments, it's going to create carbon dioxide. If that lid was on there tight, it could like push out on the bottle and eventually explode it, making kind of a sticky mess all over your house. Probably not good. It probably won't hurt you, but I don't want to have to clean that up. By letting those gases escape as fermentation continues, we keep it stable inside, but we also prevent bugs, literal bugs, fruit flies, things like that, from getting up in there and through, because that's such a small area. I mean, I had to squeeze a little bit to get that air out. You just want to make sure there's just a little bit of movement there. What's the next step? It's going to sit in some cool, dark place for 10 to 15 days or so. We don't really know exactly, but you want to just kind of take a look at it. You'll start to see bubbles coming up the side. When you don't see those bubbles coming up the side anymore, after about 2 weeks or so, it's probably ready. And that's the next stage.
All right, it's been 15 days and here we are. We've had the original bubbling coming up, little tiny incy weensy bubbles, but you watch them come up the side and then they form this little tiny foam line along the top. That's a good indication that things are working.
This foamed up pretty good. Now, we are not taking readings on this. If you have a hydrometer, I highly suggest doing so. We are trying to fly blind just like you would be if this was your first time. So this is not the best practices, but this is the way to do it if you haven't invested in any equipment, okay? The only equipment we're going to be using today are some repurposed whiskey bottles, which if you don't have whiskey bottles, use wine bottles. They're the same thing.
Any bottles.
We're going to use a funnel and we're going to use a pitcher. That's it. No fancy equipment. These are all things you can get at the grocery store. Now, I have been shaking this up every couple of days. I screw the cap on, shake the bejesus out of it, and then let that gas escape, okay? Don't let it foam out. Just do that. Don't worry if it doesn't smell real good. That's pretty normal during primary fermentation. I'm going to assume this is done or very close to finished, but we have ways of protecting you against that. But what I want to do today is rack this and bottle it, because this is a wine designed to be drank young. So let's just get to it. Very, very, very simple. This is, again, not my preferred way, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take the cap off.
You want to make sure that everything you're using here is as clean as possible. We've actually gone ahead and sanitized these in Star San, but if you, again, don't have that and don't want to invest in anything because you're just getting your feet wet on this process, you can
use really hot water, because this is plastic, you don't want to boil it. Use really hot water, clean it really, really good, let it air dry, just be as clean as you can. That's the best way. The bottle's best way is to boil those. Yeah. Just let the water come to 212, let them sit in there for 5 or 10 minutes, just like if you're canning, okay? Now, at this point, you want to be very, very careful when you move this bottle. If any of you just moved it and shook it up, you're going to have to wait another couple of days before you can do this. You want all the sediment to have fallen to the bottom, which it did. And I'm going to be very, very careful as I pick this up. You might not even be able to see it. It's completely blocked down here and clear up here. Let me start pouring. And this is exactly how I do it. Very, very slowly. You will probably see some off-gassing happen, some bubbles. You do not want the gurgle effect when this comes out. And if you start seeing wispy things, stop pouring. If you're very careful and very steady, it's not hard to do. However, the best way to do this is actually using an auto siphon. And if you're very careful as you're pouring, notice I'm not really moving the bottle much at all. The neck of that bottle and the shoulder of that bottle will actually catch a lot of the sediment. Okay, you're not going to get it all. Some of it's going to get through. That's another reason to use an auto siphon. And we used bread yeast, which is a little wispy and doesn't pack as well. So there will be a little bit coming through. It's totally up to you where you stop. I don't like a lot of sediment in my wine, so I'm going to be very, very careful here. But I want to get as much product as I can too. You will lose about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. Fact of life. All right, I'm seeing junk coming. Yeah, I lost maybe about 3/4 of an inch. But
so you'll see
the goop. There, we'll just do that. You can see that there is goop on the bottom of there. That is yeast and proteins and things that come out of suspension. Now, something of note, if you wanted to and you had more juice, you could just pour more juice right into that bottle and start the whole process again.
Yep.
Which maybe we will. Who knows? At this point, though, we now have our racked wine, okay? So what I'm going to do is start putting it into bottles. These bottles are just repurposed whiskey bottles. Why? Because I figure most people are going to have some sort of a wine bottle or whiskey bottle. Don't be tempted to use mason jars. There could be a little bit of gas left in this, and you do not want them to explode on you, so be careful. All I'm going to do, really simple, funnel. Now, when you put a funnel in a bottle like that, see how it made a seal? Make sure it's cracked just a little bit. It helps to have an extra set of hands. If they happen to be Derica's, it's even better. Good luck with that. There's only one of her, and she's mine. It will foam up. I am actually hoping it will degas a bit using this process, and there's a really good reason. If oxygen gets into this wine at this point, it could cause problems, okay? It's not likely to, it could.
We have no idea what kind of ABV this is because we didn't
no
take
clue.
any readings.
So by all that gas coming out, it's forming a blanket at the top that'll protect the wine from oxygen. You want to be careful that you don't overfill. That's close. I want just a couple more drops in there. But I want it up into the neck of the bottle as best I can. Just like that. That is the least amount of contact.
What do you want next? Like a shoulder?
Yeah, sure. But I don't know if you can see. It's right up into the neck of that bottle on purpose. That way there's the least amount of oxygen contact. And it's still foamy. Cap it. Looks like 3 was a little bit optimistic. Well, a full gallon is just under 4 liters, so that's like 5 or so bottles. This is a less than a half gallon, so I'm not surprised. What brewing video would be complete without a taste test, right? I'm just going to pour a little off. It's not as clear as I'd like it to be, but that comes in time, too.
Yeah, we kind of rushed this because we wanted to show you a really simple, really quick, really easy way just to get introduced into homebrewing.
Right. This method is for, I have no gear. I just bought stuff at the grocery store and want to make wine and see if I like doing this hobby. Honestly, for 15 days, I'm going to call that fair. It's not clear. Okay, it's quite cloudy, and that is going to be normal. Yours might be a little clearer.
It depends a lot.
Smells fruity.
On the juice and the particulates that are inherent in that particular
better
type of
quality juice will make a better quality product. Give that a smell. It's actually, we go by like how much sulfur you might smell or odd off smells.
I'm actually getting a lot of the fruit.
It's really
the sweetness.
fruity. It's really fruity. It smells much better than you would think it's going to.
Yeah, for something this young, I'm impressed.
Well, here's a little hint. If you've ever seen our how to make wine from grape juice, it's the same recipe. It's the exact same thing. Yeah. We just didn't use all of the extra technicals to know exactly where it's at. But we've made that wine enough times that we kind of know what it's doing. Let me give that a taste. Wow, that's actually really drinkable.
Yeah, it has a little bit of
zing.
Effervescence.
Yeah, it's still a little bit bubbly.
That I'm thinking is part of the degassing, but it's not unpleasant.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice.
That's included. So
now, what you want to do with these is put them in the refrigerator. And that is the secret at this point. If you left these sitting out, there could be enough gas in here, and it could still be slightly fermenting, that they could explode.
Yeah, we oversimplified this process on purpose, but that leaves a lot of unknowns.
Right. We don't know if this is actually finished. 15 days, it should be based on all the factors and experience, but it might not be. So don't take chances. Put these in the refrigerator. It's actually a process called cold crashing. What it does is it kind of puts the yeast into a suspended animation, and the sediment will drop out. You will see these clear up within a week if you put it in the fridge.
If you can resist the urge to drink it right away, it will clear slightly in your fridge, and you will see a layer on the bottom. So again, when you're pouring your glass to drink, just do it very slowly.
Yeah, be very careful. You will get sediment in the bottom. Just like I poured the bottle, pour these the same way. Also, resist the urge to just leave it in that plastic bottle. Alcohol and plastic, they don't really mix well. I'm not a big fan of that. That's why I don't really like to ferment in those plastic containers. They're not made for alcohol. So if you wanted to pour it into a gallon jug and use 2 together, go for that. Do that. And then, buy an airlock and put that on there, and maybe even a hydrometer and take a reading. And then, get an auto siphon and you can siphon it off properly. All that stuff is going to cost you less than 30 bucks. But it gets you to a much different level in the making of wine. And this is just the beginning. We have over 200 videos on our channel on how to do this kind of thing.
So if you've enjoyed this and you're ready to take it to the next step, go check out our other videos and we'll help you along the way.
And if you need the stuff, we have links to all of these things that you can purchase. And, you know, it does help the channel out, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. And that way, you know, you're buying the exact same item that we use in our videos. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed this and we hope you learned something and we hope you get into this hobby. So as always, guys, thanks for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.